Every February, millions across the world take time to honor Black History Month, a time to reflect on the struggles, victories, and contributions of African Americans throughout history. But have you ever wondered, why does Black History Month exist? Why is it so important? And how did it all begin? This is not just a celebration. It is a story of pain, perseverance, and power. A story of people who refuse to be broken. A story that continues to shape the world we live in today. Join us as we take you on a journey through history. A journey of oppression, resilience, and the fight for justice. This is Black History Month. Black History Month did not start as a national celebration. It began as a fight against historical erasure, the deliberate ignoring of Black contributions in American history. For centuries, Black people in America were enslaved, stripped of their identities, and denied education. Even after slavery was abolished, their history was distorted or left out of textbooks. One man, however, refused to let this happen. His name was Carter G. Woodson, a historian, author, and activist. He believed, if a race has no history, it has no worthwhile tradition. It stands in danger of being exterminated. In 1926, Woodson launched Negro History Week to highlight the achievements of Black Americans and to educate people about their history. It was no coincidence that he chose February, the month of both Abraham Lincoln's and Frederick Douglass's birthdays, two figures deeply connected to Black freedom. But what started as a single week soon grew into a nationwide movement. By 1976, on the 50th anniversary of Negro History Week, President Gerald Ford officially expanded it into Black History Month, urging Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans. And so, Black History Month was born. But to truly understand why it matters, we must go back even further. Back to the times of slavery. Imagine a world where human beings were treated as property, bought, sold, beaten, and forced to work under brutal conditions. For over 250 years, this was the reality for millions of African men, women, and children. The transatlantic slave trade tore families apart, bringing them to America in shackles, where they were forced into a life of endless suffering. They had no rights. They had no freedom. They were seen as less than human. And yet, even in the darkest times, hope remained. Enslaved Africans carried with them traditions, stories, and resilience, secretly teaching their children, passing down songs of survival, and finding ways to resist. Many fought back, some through rebellion, others through escape. One of the most famous heroes was Harriet Tubman, who risked her life to lead hundreds of slaves to freedom through the Underground Railroad. Others, like Frederick Douglass, used their voices, becoming leaders in the movement to end slavery. And after years of struggle, on January 1, 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that enslaved people were free. But freedom was just the beginning. Even after slavery ended, Black Americans were far from equal. Jim Crow laws enforced segregation, denying them basic rights. They couldn't sit in the same restaurants, attend the same schools, or even drink from the same water fountains as white people. Laws were created to keep them poor, powerless, and unheard. But they refused to stay silent. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s was a turning point in history. Leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached nonviolent resistance, organizing protests, marches, and boycotts to demand equal rights. His famous "I Have a Dream" speech still echoes today, reminding us of the vision he had for a just and equal world. Other figures, like Malcolm X, took a different approach, arguing that self-defense and Black empowerment were necessary in the face of oppression. Their efforts led to major victories. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, ending segregation in public places. The Voting Rights Act of 1965, ensuring Black Americans could vote freely. But even with these victories, the fight wasn't over. Even today, racial injustice exists in different forms: systemic discrimination, police brutality, and economic inequalities. Black History Month is not just about looking at the past. It's about recognizing the struggles that continue today. It's about understanding the contributions of Black leaders, artists, scientists, and everyday heroes who have shaped our world. It's about making sure that history is never forgotten. Black individuals have shaped history in every field imaginable. Music, jazz, blues, hip-hop, and rock and roll were all shaped by Black musicians. Sports, legends like Michael Jordan and Serena Williams have inspired millions. Science and innovation, figures like George Washington Carver and Katherine Johnson changed the world with their discoveries. Movies and entertainment, from Sidney Poitier to Denzel Washington, Black actors have reshaped Hollywood. These are just a few examples, but their impact is undeniable. Black History Month is more than a celebration. It is a reminder of the struggles, sacrifices, and victories that have shaped the world. At Manan Vibe, we are dedicated to bringing you stories that inspire, educate, and empower. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And tell us in the comments, What does Black History Month mean to you? We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep learning.